The surface of the tropical ocean lies deceptively calm, a mirrored sheet broken only by the ripple of a current or the splash of a seabird. Beneath this stillness, however, the reef is alive with unseen drama. Coral heads bristle with movement, turtles graze in seagrass meadows, and shoals of fish pulse like liquid mercury. Yet at the edge of this bustling ecosystem, a shadow patrols with quiet authority. Thick-bodied, striped faintly like a ghost of the jungle, the tiger shark glides in silence. Its presence is not heralded by speed or spectacle, but by patience. It is not simply a hunter. It is the reef's janitor, the silent judge of who is to live and what is to disappear. For the tiger shark, the sea is not a murky expanse, but a web of signals waiting to be read. Across its snout lie thousands of small pores, each leading to a canal filled with a conductive gel. These structures, known as the ampullae of Lorenzini, form an exquisite array of electroreceptors. Every living creature emits electrical signals, tiny pulses from beating hearts, twitches of muscles, the faint hum of a nervous system. Where our eyes would see only sand, the shark perceives electrical sparks glowing in the dark. A buried stingray, hidden under a veil of sediment, betrays itself with each contraction of its gills. A turtle resting on the seafloor cannot conceal the slow, rhythmic thrum of its heartbeat. Even seabirds, floundering at the surface after a storm, reveal themselves as their muscles flicker and falter. To the tiger shark, these signals are as vivid as beacons. But electroreception is only one part of the shark's sensory arsenal. Equally vital is its ability to smell the ocean. Along folded tissues in its snout, chemoreceptors detect trace molecules at astonishing sensitivity. A drop of blood can be noticed within the volume of an Olympic pool. More than a myth of bloodlust, this skill serves as a survival tool in a vast environment where prey can be scarce. Carrion slicks, formed from the drifting oils and decaying matter of a whale carcass, act as highways of scent. The molecules travel outward in invisible plumes, carried by currents across kilometers. A tiger shark sampling the water column can detect this gradient and adjust its course, steering into the trail with uncanny precision. Hours, even days later, the shark arrives at the source, its nose guiding it across a wilderness where sight offers little help. While carrion draws them from afar, the immediacy of the hunt often unfolds at night. In the hours when the reef shifts to a quieter tempo, tiger sharks become silhouette hunters. From below they patrol the boundary, where moonlight sharpens the outlines of animals against the surface. Turtles rising to breathe become vulnerable in these moments. The shark ascends with steady grace, its approach hidden by the dark void beneath. Then comes the sudden surge, a burst of speed driven by powerful tail beats, followed by a banking turn that allows the shark to seize prey from the side. This burst-then-bank maneuver exemplifies the tiger shark's style, not endless pursuit like a tuna or marlin, but short, decisive sprints when opportunity presents itself. For turtles whose shells have shielded them from most ocean predators, the tiger shark remains one of the few hunters capable of breaching their defenses with serrated teeth that cut through bone and keratin. The same predatory tactics extend to seabirds. Fledglings forced into the ocean by storms often struggle to lift themselves again. To a tiger shark, their silhouettes at the surface are unmistakable. Ascending silently, the shark delivers swift strikes, reducing the chaotic flapping of wings to sudden stillness. In this, the tiger shark demonstrates its opportunism, able to transition fluidly from scavenger to hunter, from carrion to live prey, without distinction. These patterns of predation and scavenging are not random but seasonal and geographic. Tiger sharks often patrol the edges of reefs, where the open sea meets the labyrinth of coral. These boundaries act as funnels for both living prey and drifting carrion. Seasonal changes in currents, particularly in regions where trade winds shift, concentrate organic material along these edges. Whale migration seasons amplify this effect. When a whale dies and sinks, the carcass becomes a beacon, attracting not only sharks, but also deep-diving scavengers. Tiger sharks, capable of ranging across hundreds of kilometers, trace these slicks like nomads, weaving migration routes that overlap with carrion highways. The ocean, vast as it seems, is mapped in their sensory world as a patchwork of trails, hotspots, and seasonal returns. Perhaps the most peculiar window into the tiger shark's ecology comes not from observing its hunts, but from examining its stomach. Over decades of study, scientists have discovered a bizarre collection of objects within these predators: license plates, tires, barrels, and even coconut husks. Popular culture has painted them as indiscriminate garbage eaters, but the truth is more nuanced. The tiger shark's jaws and teeth are designed to test, cut, and process a wide variety of materials, from hard turtle shells to the sinewy flesh of dolphins. Its survival strategy is one of exploration, biting first, evaluating later. Most foreign objects ingested are likely accidents or misidentifications in environments increasingly polluted by human debris. Yet this behavior underscores the shark's evolutionary role. By consuming the overlooked, the unguarded, and even the inanimate, tiger sharks recycle energy and matter in ways other predators do not. This role as a recycler, however, is critical to the reef. Without apex scavengers like tiger sharks, carrion would linger, altering bacterial communities, fueling disease, and disrupting nutrient cycles. By consuming carcasses, tiger sharks redistribute nutrients through excretion, fertilizing the reef in subtle ways. They prevent turtle populations from overgrazing seagrass beds, protect fish stocks by culling weak individuals, and maintain the delicate equilibrium of coral ecosystems. Their presence is not a menace to the reef, but a service. They are custodians cloaked in fearsome bodies, balancing excess by deciding in their silent patrols who lives and who disappears. Humans, however, view them through a different lens. Encounters with tiger sharks along tropical coasts, particularly in Hawaii, Fiji, and parts of Australia, have sometimes ended in tragedy. Their large size and willingness to test unfamiliar prey make them more dangerous to humans than many shark species. This reality fuels tourism fears and, in some regions, culling programs. Yet the irony is sharp. The removal of tiger sharks destabilizes the very ecosystems that human economies depend on. Tourism thrives on healthy reefs, which in turn depend on predators like tiger sharks to regulate populations. Removing the blue janitor leads to cascades: turtle overpopulation, seagrass depletion, and fishery declines. The very animal feared for rare accidents is the one maintaining the balance that sustains local livelihoods. The story of the tiger shark is, then, one of contradiction. It is both scavenger and sprinter, feared killer and ecological caretaker. It sees the world not in color or light, but in electricity, scent, and silhouette. It roams not randomly, but along highways woven by currents and carcasses. It feeds not only on turtles and fish, but on the detritus of our own presence in the sea. And it reminds us that apex predators are not villains but keystones, creatures whose removal collapses the arches of ecosystems. To swim over a reef and glimpse the faint stripes of a tiger shark below is to feel a pulse of unease, but also to witness the ocean's balance embodied. In its gaping mouth lies the power to judge, to decide what lives, what vanishes, what is recycled into the great engine of the sea. Silent, patient, opportunistic, it is less a terror of the reef than its custodian. The blue janitor, the silent judge, moving through the water not with malice but with purpose, ensuring that the sea does not drown in its own excess. The midday sea burns with light. Sunbeams crash down through the surface like silver spears, refracting and scattering until the water itself seems to shimmer. For small fish, this dazzle is both shield and trap. Each flick of a sardine's scale, each glint of a herring's side, merges into a kaleidoscope that blinds would-be predators with too much information. Yet within this carnival of reflections lurks a predator that has turned light into a weapon of its own. Long, lean, and gleaming like polished metal, the barracuda hovers motionless in the haze, waiting for the right angle, the right flicker, the perfect line of sight. Then, in a blink, the chrome missile disappears into the sun and reappears in the flesh of its prey. The barracuda is built for this role. Its body is a torpedo, streamlined from snout to tail with barely a curve wasted on ornament. The scales catch light in a way that makes the fish itself vanish into the glare of the surface, a mirror reflecting nothing but the ocean around it. Its mouth, elongated into a rictus grin, bristles with fangs. Unlike the cutting triangles of a shark, these teeth are set for shearing, piercing, and anchoring prey that moves in sudden bursts. At rest, the barracuda seems like a drifter, hanging mid-water with the stillness of driftwood. But its calm is an illusion. Along its flanks runs the lateral line system, a row of neuromasts sensitive to minute pressure changes. With this organ, the barracuda reads the choreography of its environment, the panicked vibration of baitfish fins, the surge of a current against coral walls, even the subtle wakes of other predators moving through the water. Vision may fail in the shimmer of light, but the lateral line whispers secrets of direction and distance. The strike itself is ballistic. When the ambush window opens, the barracuda's muscular tail contracts in a whip-like burst, driving the body forward at accelerations that rival sprinting cheetahs on land. Unlike tunas, which maintain high speeds over distance, the barracuda specializes in short-range detonation. In less than a second, it crosses the gap between stillness and impact, its jaws swinging open on a hinge designed for maximal gape. The fangs interlock like ivory scissors, spaced wide enough to slot between the scales of baitfish, yet sharp enough to shear through flesh and bone. Few prey survive the initial pounce. Those that do are often mortally wounded, trailing scales like confetti in the water as the predator circles back for the final seizure. This predator-prey theater is not always a chase across open water. In sandy channels between reefs, barracudas adopt a different strategy, the hover then pounce. Here, the light is fractured by rippling waves, shadows ripple across the sand, and visibility narrows into corridors. Large barracudas, sometimes more than 1.5 meters in length, hold position like sentinels. They do not pace, they do not dart, they hover, barely moving a fin, conserving energy. Passing mullet schools or jacks funnel naturally through these sandy runways, and when they do, the sentinel erupts from stillness into violence. Local divers often note that the same individuals appear in the same channels, day after day. These are not wanderers but guardians of ambush sites, staking claims over geography much like lions over a savanna pride land. Their territories are defined not by scent but by advantage, the geometry of currents, the angles of light, the predictability of prey. Light itself becomes part of the barracuda's arsenal. In the chaos of midday sun, their chrome flanks reflect the surface so faithfully that they vanish against it. To the prey below, the predator disappears into glare, its outline erased by the same optical trick baitfish use to confuse predators. The irony is profound. The very evolutionary advantage of shimmering bait balls is turned against them by a single larger fish wielding the same camouflage on a bigger scale. When the strike comes, it seems as though the sun itself has delivered the blow. This manipulation of glare explains both the barracuda's effectiveness and its occasional mistakes. Fishermen and divers have long reported sudden lunges at shiny objects, rings, watches, knives, even camera gear. To a barracuda's sensory world, the flash of polished metal resembles the glint of fleeing fish. These incidents are not born of malice but of misidentification, a split-second confusion between survival signals and human trinkets. Safety advice in barracuda waters often includes removing jewelry or reflective gear, not because the predator seeks humans as prey, but because its hunting strategies are wired so tightly to light cues that errors are inevitable. In a world defined by milliseconds, one flash too many can trigger a reflex it cannot ignore. The barracuda's ecological role is not to dominate but to regulate. They are mid-tier predators, positioned between reef sharks above and the countless baitfish below. By striking at schools, they force prey into tighter, denser formations, a defense that paradoxically makes the schools easier for larger predators to exploit. This ripple effect, where one predator's presence amplifies the vulnerability of prey to others, illustrates the interconnectedness of reef food webs. The barracuda is not the ultimate killer, but the one that keeps prey populations nervous, their cohesion fragile, their vigilance sharpened. Remove barracudas from a reef and baitfish may grow bolder, spreading wider, grazing more aggressively, altering algae levels and coral competition. The missile's presence maintains balance not through constant kills, but through constant threat. Biologists studying their diets confirm this opportunism. Stomach analyses reveal an assortment of reef species: mullets, jacks, grunts, even cephalopods. Yet what stands out is the size and condition of their prey. Barracudas frequently target weak or injured individuals, their burst attacks capitalizing on vulnerability rather than raw endurance. This pattern mirrors the behavior of many apex predators and underscores the evolutionary service they provide. By culling the unfit, barracudas indirectly maintain the health of the populations they hunt. Their role, then, is not only one of predator, but of curator, trimming excess to prevent ecological imbalance. Even their social behavior reflects this duality of stillness and violence. Juveniles often form loose schools, hovering near mangrove roots or sheltered lagoons, where they learn to strike in coordinated bursts at small fish. As they grow, individuals break away, adopting the solitary sentinel role of adults. Lone giants dominate channels and reef edges, their presence altering prey distributions over wide areas. In this way, the life of a barracuda is a gradual narrowing of focus, from youthful group learning to adult mastery of single decisive spaces. For humans, the barracuda inspires both fascination and caution. Its speed, teeth, and suddenness fuel stories of reckless attacks, though confirmed incidents are rare. More often, the danger lies not in aggression but in confusion, in a predator finely tuned to flashes that we ourselves unwittingly mimic. For divers, the true risk is less being hunted than being mistaken for a fleeing fish in the wrong light. Respect for the animal's strategies is respect for its context. The sun, the angles, the optics of a world where survival is measured in fractions of a second. To watch a barracuda hover is to feel tension stretched thin across still water. It is a missile waiting for launch, a chrome blade suspended in the haze of refracted light. And when it moves, it is not with hesitation but with physics. The explosive release of stored energy, the straight-line inevitability of predator meeting prey. It does not linger over the kill, nor does it chase glory. Its purpose is singular: to cut into the chaos, to keep the reef's actors from growing complacent, to remind all that in the sun's glare, something sharper is always waiting. The reef at dawn is deceptively calm. A green haze of algae sways with the tide. Parrotfish graze at coral edges, and the water seems to move at a slow, sleepy rhythm. Yet hidden within the rubble, beneath a shell-strewn burrow no wider than a finger, waits a creature that embodies the violence of physics itself. The mantis shrimp is only the length of a hand, yet within its body lies a weapon that delivers impacts on par with bullets. In the scale of the reef, it is the smallest artillery unit, an animal that fights not with stealth or speed alone, but with explosions of force that flash like sparks of the sun. At the heart of its power are its dactyl clubs, folded neatly against its body until the moment of release. These clubs are not merely hardened limbs, but spring-loaded weapons powered by a saddle-shaped structure of chitin. The design works like a biological crossbow. Muscles contract slowly, storing energy in the saddle's curve, and when the latch releases, the arm snaps forward with terrifying acceleration. In less than the blink of an eye, the club reaches speeds of 20 to 30 meters per second. To its prey, a crab holding the illusion of safety inside a shell, or a snail hidden behind its spiral fortress, the blow is not survivable. Shells shatter, carapaces splinter, and soft flesh is exposed in an instant. Yet the strike delivers more than direct impact. The speed of the club causes the water around it to drop in pressure, forming vapor bubbles that collapse almost immediately. This implosion, known as cavitation, releases shockwaves strong enough to stun or kill prey, even if the club itself missed the target. Within the microsecond of collapse, temperatures spike briefly to levels found on the surface of the sun. The result is a flash of light, sonoluminescence, so brief and so small it cannot be seen without specialized equipment. The mantis shrimp, without knowing it, has harnessed forces familiar to physicists but rare in biology. It fights with both matter and physics, with hammer and explosion, turning water itself into a weapon. Surviving such violence requires an architecture unlike any other. The club of a mantis shrimp is not brittle bone or simple chitin. Instead, It is constructed from layers arranged in a spiral helicoid pattern, like the steps of a staircase wrapping around a column. This design distributes the stress of impact across multiple planes, preventing cracks from running straight through. The outer surface is mineralized, forming a shield against wear, while the inner layers absorb and dissipate shock. Human engineers studying this microarchitecture have taken inspiration for designing advanced armor and aerospace composites. In a laboratory, the mantis shrimp's clubs can withstand thousands of strikes against glass or steel without failing. On the reef, that resilience ensures the animal remains armed throughout its life, its weapons sharpening against the hardest of prey. But not all mantis shrimps wield clubs. Evolution has divided them into two broad guilds, smashers and spearers. Smashers carry the iconic hammer-like limbs, optimized for breaking shells and armor. They dominate rubble habitats where snails, crabs, and clams are abundant. Spearers, by contrast, bear raptorial appendages lined with barbs, designed to impale soft-bodied prey such as fish. They lurk in burrows along sandy flats, striking outward like harpoons when unsuspecting fish drift too close. Both forms share the same explosive release mechanism, but their tools shape their strategies. Smashers are demolition experts, cracking open the armored prey that few others can access. Spearers are assassins, relying on precision impalement. Together, they fill ecological roles that stabilize prey populations, preventing crabs from overrunning algae beds and fish from monopolizing sandy channels. Burrows form the center of their lives. A mantis shrimp excavates rubble or sand to create a tunnel system, often lined with shells or pebbles. Some reinforce entrances with rock doors that can be pulled shut against intruders. Within these dens, smashers retreat with their captured prey, pounding shells against the walls until they yield. These homes also serve as nurseries, where eggs are brooded and guarded with ferocity. At the entrance, a mantis shrimp may wait with weapons poised, ready to deliver warning taps or defensive blows to trespassers. The burrow is fortress and larder, proving that this artillery operator is also an engineer of microhabitats. Beyond its weapons, the mantis shrimp is a marvel of sensory evolution. Its eyes, mounted on stalks that move independently, scan the reef with a perception unmatched in the animal kingdom. While humans perceive 3 channels of color, mantis shrimp detect 12, including ultraviolet. They are also sensitive to polarized light, including circular polarization, a feature almost invisible to most animals. With this ability, they can detect subtle reflections and hidden patterns, reading signals that to us remain unseen. Some species use this secret spectrum to communicate, flashing polarized patterns on their bodies, visible only to others of their kind. In this way, mantis shrimp conduct private conversations in the open, hiding communication from predators and prey alike. The reef is full of noise and color, but the mantis shrimp's world is layered with hidden codes. Their predatory role has consequences that ripple outward across the ecosystem. By controlling snail and crab populations, smashers prevent overgrazing of algae, maintaining the balance between algae and coral growth. Without such regulation, algal blooms could overwhelm reefs, smothering coral and collapsing biodiversity. Spearers, by preying on fish, limit dominance of certain species, keeping the community diverse and resilient. In both cases, mantis shrimp act as keystone players in miniature, their influence far exceeding their size. The reef may not notice their absence immediately, but over time the architecture of life would shift without their silent artillery. Despite their fearsome reputation, mantis shrimp live lives of vulnerability. They are prey themselves to larger fish, groupers, and even octopuses. Their reliance on burrows is as much about defense as offense. When forced into open water, they are far less formidable, their weapons powerful but range limited. Their strategy, then, is to strike with overwhelming force in close quarters, ending battles before they begin. Their survival hinges on this equation. One blow, delivered correctly, must be enough. To divers, mantis shrimp are often glimpsed only as flashes of color darting into holes. Some aquarists know them as thumb splitters, capable of cracking aquarium glass or injuring careless hands. But to focus only on their aggression is to miss their deeper role. They are sculptors of prey populations, engineers of burrows, and custodians of balance in coral ecosystems. They embody the paradox of small predators, rarely seen, yet constantly shaping the world around them. On the reef, predators come in many forms: sharks patrolling the surface, barracudas exploding from light, moray eels lunging from shadows. The mantis shrimp, however, carries the battlefield within its own body. Its clubs detonate with the heat of stars, its eyes decode hidden patterns of light, its home is a fortress lined with shells. It is not the largest, nor the most feared, but it may be the most extraordinary. For in this hand-sized warrior lies a reminder that evolution writes brilliance not only in giants, but also in the smallest artillery units, whose shock clubs and sunsparks keep their earth alive with both terror and balance. The reef is alive with texture. Sponges rise like volcanic chimneys, algae drape in swaying fronds, and rubble patches shimmer with sunlight fractured by the surface. Within this mosaic, the cuttlefish hovers in plain sight, yet you do not see it. Its body is there, suspended just above the sand, but your eyes slide past as though it were part of the scenery. What looks like coral rubble is flesh. What looks like waving weed is papillae raised from skin, and what looks like mottled shade is pigment cells arranged in living precision. The cuttlefish has not simply hidden itself, it has edited itself live into the reef's script. Its trick is not a single layer of color, but an orchestra of microscopic instruments stacked within its skin. At the surface sit chromatophores, pigment-filled sacs in shades of yellow, red, and brown. Each sac is ringed with muscle fibers that expand or contract in microseconds, spreading or shrinking the visible patch of pigment. Beneath them lie iridophores, layers of reflective plates that bend and scatter light to create shimmering greens, blues, and even ultraviolet hues. Below that, leucophores act as broad-spectrum reflectors, scattering whatever ambient light dominates the environment. Together, these layers form a three-tiered display unlike anything else in the animal kingdom: pigments for base tone, structural reflectors for iridescence, and scatterers for blending. At any given moment, the cuttlefish has millions of pixels under neural control, each capable of shifting independently, painting the animal with an accuracy that mimics the canvas around it. But camouflage in nature is never just color, it is also shape. Along its skin, tiny bundles of muscles control papillae, fleshy protrusions that can rise into spikes, ridges, or leaf-like flaps. With papillae extended, the cuttlefish no longer looks like smooth flesh, but like textured rock or swaying algae. Combine papillae with the chromatophore-iridophore stack, and the disguise deepens, not only the colors of coral rubble, but also the three-dimensional geometry of it. Predators scanning for the outline of a fish instead see nothing but background. The cuttlefish has become a living Black Ops operative, disappearing into terrain with a precision that leaves even the sharpest eyes deceived. And deception is not only for hiding. The cuttlefish weaponizes its skin in illusions that confound prey as much as they fool predators. One of its most famous tactics is the passing cloud. Waves of dark pigment ripple across its mantle in bands, mimicking the shadow of a cloud drifting over the sea floor. To a shrimp or crab, the pattern seems like nothing more than a trick of light, a shift in the environment. Yet as the prey relaxes, convinced the darkness is external, the cuttlefish strikes, tentacles shooting forward like twin harpoons, reeling the victim into its beak. Another illusion, the zebra strobe, sends rapid pulses of light and dark stripes racing across the body. These pulses seem to overload the prey's visual processing, freezing fish momentarily in confusion. In that stunned instant, the cuttlefish closes the gap and kills. Camouflage in this context is not just passive defense, it is active psychological warfare. The complexity of its signaling is even more striking in social encounters. Courtship brings out the full paradox of cuttlefish communication, the ability to speak two languages at once. A male confronted with both a rival and a female may split his body into halves. One flank glows with aggressive displays, stripes bold and threatening toward the rival. The other flank shows calm, wooing patterns meant for the female, subtle ripples of iridescence inviting her attention. Two messages are delivered simultaneously, visible to different audiences depending on their position. It is theatre written on skin, a negotiation of conflict and desire staged in a single body. To human perception, it seems like sorcery, one animal broadcasting contradictory signals in real time. But to cuttlefish, it is survival, the ability to defend and seduce in the same breath. Underlying these performances is an intricate understanding of what predators and prey can see. The cuttlefish does not merely match background colors, it matches spatial frequencies, the fine-scale patterns predators use to detect edges. By altering contrast and brightness at multiple scales, it disrupts outlines and erases its own silhouette. It also reads the light field, angling its body to align with the direction of illumination, adjusting patterns accordingly. This tactical color math ensures that whether viewed from above by a predatory fish, from the side by a rival cuttlefish, or from below by prey, the animal presents the most misleading version of itself. Camouflage in this sense is not a costume. It is a computation solved in milliseconds by a brain wired for deception. And that brain is no simple machine. Cuttlefish possess intelligence rivaling that of many vertebrates, remarkable for an animal with a lifespan measured in mere years. Experiments show that they can solve problems, navigate mazes, and even remember context when choosing prey. They can delay gratification, forgoing smaller meals when they anticipate larger ones later, a cognitive trait once thought limited to mammals and birds. On the reef, this intelligence manifests in decisions about camouflage, whether to blend into background or risk exposure for better hunting. A cuttlefish weighing hunger against danger is, in essence, performing cost-benefit analysis in real time. Its short life makes these calculations all the more urgent. For despite their brilliance, cuttlefish burn fast and fade quickly. Most live only 1 to 2 years. Their existence is a race, grow rapidly, master camouflage, mate, and die. Females invest their final energy into brooding eggs, curling their bodies around clusters until exhaustion takes them. Males expend themselves in battles of display and cunning, often resorting to trickery. Smaller males sometimes disguise themselves as females, sneaking past rivals to mate under their very noses. Intelligence in cuttlefish is not designed for longevity, but for intensity. Every decision counts, every deception is vital, because time is short. Their ecological role extends beyond their own drama. By hunting crabs, shrimp, and small fish, cuttlefish prevent any single group from overwhelming reef habitats. Their camouflage allows them to thrive in exposed zones where few predators can linger undetected. Their eggs, encased in ink-stained capsules, provide food for other creatures, while their own bodies feed larger predators like sharks and dolphins. In this way, cuttlefish weave into the reef not as dominant rulers but as middle players, balancing prey populations while themselves fueling higher tiers of the food web. Seen through human eyes, the cuttlefish's mastery of skin may seem like magic, but it is evolution written at its most exquisite. Chromatophores form the palette, iridophores the shimmer, leucophores the canvas, papillae the sculpture. Passing clouds and zebra strobes become stage tricks, dual-sided displays become conversations, and tactical camouflage becomes mathematics performed by living tissue. The animal is both painter and painting, actor and stage, predator and phantom. Its intelligence may vanish within years, but while it lasts, it leaves the reef richer, more balanced and more alive with mystery. To drift above a cuttlefish and watch it dissolve into background is to question whether you saw it at all. To witness its sudden transformation into strobing stripes is to realize that vision itself can be manipulated, that perception is never safe. And to know that beneath this artistry lies a brain that solves problems, deceives rivals and calculates risks, is to understand that the reef's greatest illusionist is not a large predator at all, but a short-lived mollusk armed with skin as versatile as any screen and a mind wired for black ops survival. The reef holds many mysteries, but perhaps none so elusive, so ephemeral as the octopus. To most eyes it is invisible, though not because it hides in shadows or swims to unreachable depths. Rather, it is invisible because it chooses to be. A glance across rubble or coral outcroppings may show only a patch of mottled stone or algae, perhaps a ripple in the sand, But what you miss is the creature itself. 8 arms folded around a body that has rewritten its own texture, color, and shape to vanish into the background. An octopus does not merely hide in the reef, it dissolves into it. And when it decides to reappear, it does so with the mind of a strategist and the hands of an engineer. The octopus's nervous system is unlike that of almost any other animal. Where humans and most vertebrates centralize their neurons in the brain, the octopus distributes them. Only 1/3 of its neurons reside in the head, the other 2/3 flow into the arms. Each arm is a semi-independent decision-maker, capable of processing sensory input and directing movement without direct orders from the central brain. A single arm can investigate a crevice, manipulate a shell, or taste the water with its suckers, while the rest of the body remains occupied elsewhere. In practice, this makes the octopus not a creature with 8 limbs, but a coalition of 8 semi-autonomous problem solvers, coordinated by a central hub that provides overall strategy. A brain that flows like water, diffuse yet directed, gives the octopus a kind of distributed intelligence no vertebrate could replicate. This decentralized control is what makes the octopus's camouflage so immediate, so uncanny. Its skin is alive with chromatophores, tiny sacs of pigment stretched by radial muscles that can expand or contract in milliseconds. Beneath them, iridophores and leucophores scatter and reflect light, adding shimmer or depth. The result is a surface that can be reprogrammed instantly into the pattern of a rock, the shimmer of sand, or the gradient of shadow. Texture, too, is within its grasp. Papillae, controlled by precise muscular contractions, rise from the skin to form ridges, bumps, or even spiky projections. To a predator searching for outlines, an octopus becomes not merely the color of coral rubble, but its very shape and surface. Where cuttlefish rely on passing clouds or strobing illusions, the octopus perfects invisibility by sculpting itself into background. Yet camouflage is only one layer of its survival. The octopus is also an engineer, transforming its surroundings into fortresses and traps. Many species build dens within coral rubble or rocky crevices, dragging shells, stones, and discarded debris to fortify the entrance. Some select coconut halves or abandoned shells as portable armor, carrying them across the seafloor and assembling them into makeshift shelters when needed. Others use large rocks as doors, wedging them into place at the entrance of a den to keep intruders out. Around the entrance, shell middens often accumulate, the remains of prey brought back and eaten inside. To a casual diver, these middens might seem like refuse. But for the octopus, they serve as both evidence of meals and a deterrent, a warning to would-be predators that this place belongs to a predator. In some cases, octopuses even repurpose middens into booby traps, arranging shells so they collapse inward when disturbed. The den is not just shelter, it is a statement of presence and power. Such engineering is not divorced from intelligence. Tool use among octopuses has been documented repeatedly. Coconut shells carried across sand flats, rocks positioned as shields, even simple manipulation of debris into barricades, each reflects foresight, the ability to imagine a future need and prepare for it. In evolutionary terms, such foresight is extraordinary for an animal that lives only a few short years. But this brevity explains much of the octopus's behavior. Octopuses are semilparous. They reproduce once, then die. Males die soon after mating, their energy spent, while females brood eggs until exhaustion claims them. The entire lifespan may be 2 years, sometimes less. With so little time, the octopus must live urgently. It cannot afford to invest in long-term safety. Instead, it thrives on boldness, using high-risk tactics to achieve maximum returns in minimal time. Predation is the arena where these tactics shine brightest. When stealth fails or a predator presses too close, the octopus does not retreat into simple flight. It stages theater. Dramatic displays, sudden flashes of high-contrast patterns, startle predators with the illusion of size or threat. An octopus that was once invisible may suddenly blaze with stripes and spots, turning into a creature entirely different from what it seemed. If intimidation does not work, the octopus creates confusion with ink. The expelled cloud does more than obscure vision. It contains chemicals that irritate predators' senses. Sometimes the ink forms pseudomorphs, cohesive blobs that mimic the size and shape of the octopus itself. While the predator strikes at the phantom, the real octopus jets away, using siphon-powered propulsion to vanish into the distance. Escape in this context is not retreat, but deception elevated to performance art. The economy of predation, however, is shaped by the brevity of life. An octopus cannot wait for perfect opportunities. It hunts actively, exploring with its arms, probing crevices for crabs, lobsters, and mollusks. Its beak, sharp and efficient, cracks shells, while salivary secretions soften the toughest exoskeletons. In this role, the octopus becomes not only predator, but regulator, controlling crustacean populations that might otherwise dominate reef ecosystems. By consuming the armored and the hidden, it redistributes energy across the web, ensuring balance in the seafloor's economy. Each kill is both sustenance and ecological service. Even its intelligence reflects this urgency. Octopuses solve puzzles, escape enclosures, and manipulate objects with uncanny dexterity, yet all this brilliance is compressed into a fleeting life. There is no long childhood, no decades of refinement. Instead, intelligence is expressed in bursts. An octopus learning to open a jar, another remembering a pathway through a maze, another deceiving rivals by impersonating different species with its skin. These flashes of problem-solving remind us that intelligence in nature is not always tied to lifespan. It is tied to necessity. For an octopus, surviving a world full of sharks, eels, and humans requires constant improvisation. Brains that flow like water, arms that think for themselves, and bodies that vanish at will. This is its formula. Humans often project myth onto octopuses. Ancient sailors told of krakens dragging ships to the deep. Modern divers whisper about octopuses plotting escapes from aquariums or stealing catches from lobster traps. The truth, as always, is stranger and subtler. Octopuses are not monsters, nor are they pranksters. They are opportunists shaped by evolution into paradoxes, soft yet formidable, short-lived yet brilliant, vulnerable yet endlessly adaptable. Their dens stand as monuments not of permanence, but of ingenuity. Fortresses built in days, abandoned in weeks, and remembered only in the shifting shells left behind. To witness an octopus emerge from its den at night is to see intelligence embodied in fluid motion. Arms flow across coral, suckers tasting the world with every touch. Skin flickers through a dozen disguises, testing background, reading light, calculating contrast. A crab scuttles, unaware, until the arms coil and the beak delivers silence. Then the octopus returns to its den, rearranges a shell, and resumes its vigil, part engineer, part phantom, part strategist of survival. The reef, for all its sharks and barracudas, may find its most ingenious predator not in size or speed, but in the octopus, an animal that engineers dens, wields tools, and manipulates perception with a brain spread across its body. It is a creature that proves intelligence can flow like water, filling spaces, shaping tools, vanishing into background, and emerging again when the moment is right. The octopus does not dominate by force alone, but by design, living proof that even in short lives, brilliance can echo long after the animal itself is gone. The lagoon looks calm beneath the morning sun. Mangrove roots arch downward into water the color of tea, their tangled fingers sheltering schools of juvenile fish, shrimp, and larvae that drift in with the tide. From the surface, it seems like sanctuary, a nursery where predators struggle to maneuver, a maze of shadows and roots protecting life at its most fragile. But here, protection is an illusion. Suspended in the water column, almost indistinguishable from the current itself, floats the box jellyfish. Its body is a transparent cube, its tentacles nearly invisible until the instant they touch. To the unknowing, this place looks safe. To those that drift too near, it is a minefield, clear, silent, and armed with weapons faster than any reflex in nature. The box jellyfish is not a passive drifter, though its bell pulses gently like the tide. Its arsenal lies in its tentacles, sometimes stretching several meters in length, lined with thousands of specialized cells called nematocysts. Each nematocyst is a microscopic capsule armed with a coiled harpoon soaked in venom. When a trigger hair brushes against prey, the harpoon fires in less than a millionth of a second, traveling with explosive acceleration. To put this speed in context, it is faster than a bullet leaving a rifle barrel, faster than any muscle-driven movement known on Earth. The impact delivers both a mechanical puncture and an injection of venom that spreads almost instantly into the victim's tissues. For small fish, the effect is immediate. Muscles seize, gills fail, and the fish drifts motionless, its defenses overwhelmed before it even realizes the strike has come. The venom itself is a cocktail engineered by evolution, not for intimidation, but for efficiency. Proteins within the venom create pores in cell membranes, disrupting ion balances and triggering cascades of pain and paralysis. For prey fish, this prevents escape. For larger animals, including humans, it can overwhelm cardiac and nervous systems in minutes. While stories of box jellyfish lethality often dominate headlines, the biology is more complex. The venom evolved not to kill large vertebrates, but to subdue fragile, fast-moving prey. Small fish and larvae can dart away if not incapacitated instantly, so the venom acts like a molecular hammer, dropping them in place and allowing tentacles to reel them in. Evolution has produced not just a toxin, but a weapon system designed to match the speed of prey in an environment where hesitation means starvation. But the box jellyfish is not blind. Unlike many of its gelatinous cousins, which drift aimlessly with no sense of their surroundings, it carries an array of sensory equipment that borders on the bizarre. Along the four sides of its cube-like bell are structures called rhopalia. Each rhopalium contains multiple types of eyes, some simple pits that detect light, others complex lens-bearing eyes resembling those of vertebrates. In total, a box jellyfish can carry up to 24 eyes, capable of forming images, gauging light intensity, and detecting motion. With these, the animal navigates shorelines, avoids obstacles like mangrove roots, and positions itself within currents to maximize hunting success. Unlike its cousins that wander into trouble, the box jellyfish appears deliberate, adjusting its pulse rate and orientation to patrol productive hunting lanes. Those lanes often pass through mangrove channels where tides funnel prey in predictable waves. The strategy here is less pursuit than architecture. As the box jellyfish drifts with the current, it spreads its tentacles like a living curtain. Each strand hangs downward and outward, forming an almost invisible barrier. Juvenile fish, larvae, and plankton swept along by the tide encounter the curtain before they even perceive danger. The effect is much like a gill net, broad coverage with lethal precision. For each contact, nematocysts fire, venom flows, and another prey item becomes part of the jellyfish's throughput. In this way, box jellies act not as solitary assassins, but as biological minefields, setting up zones of near-certain death for anything small enough to be caught. To humans, these same minefields are notorious. Swimmers who brush against tentacles often experience a burning pain that radiates through nerves like fire. Myths of treatment have grown almost as fast as the stories of danger. The idea that urine neutralizes stings, for instance, persists despite repeated debunking. In reality, urine can worsen nematocyst discharge by altering osmotic balance. The science-backed treatments emphasize rinsing with vinegar to neutralize unfired nematocysts, followed by immersion in hot water to denature venom proteins and relieve pain. This discrepancy between myth and fact highlights a broader theme. Where fear dominates, misinformation follows. Box jellyfish are dangerous, yes, but they are also misunderstood. Creatures shaped by ecological necessity, not malice. Seasonal patterns add further complexity. In regions such as northern Australia, box jellyfish numbers increase during warm water months, leading to closures of popular beaches. Warming seas expand their ranges and extend their seasons, creating more frequent overlap with human activity. Yet even here, nuance is essential. Box jellyfish play an ecological role as high-throughput filters, consuming vast numbers of fish larvae and plankton. By doing so, they regulate prey populations and redistribute nutrients within coastal systems. Removing them entirely would destabilize these nurseries, altering the very ecosystems humans depend upon for fisheries and shoreline health. Fear often drives eradication efforts, but ecosystems do not function without their regulators, even when those regulators are transparent cubes with venomous threads. For all their lethality, box jellyfish remain vulnerable. Sea turtles, immune to their stings, feed on them readily, gulping down individuals as if they were little more than gelatinous snacks. Ocean sunfish, leatherback turtles, and certain species of fish also target them. Their transparency, while effective against many predators, is not absolute. Against specialized hunters, the jellyfish is little more than drifting fuel. This dynamic reminds us that even the most feared animals exist within hierarchies, balanced by predators that prevent them from overrunning ecosystems. The box jellyfish, then, is both menace and necessity. It arms itself with nematocysts that discharge faster than thought, with venom designed to collapse prey in seconds, with eyes that watch currents and coastlines. It patrols mangrove channels not as a drifter, but as an architect of invisible walls, creating gauntlets that small fish cannot survive. To humans, it is a hazard, a creature of stings and fear. To the reef and the nursery, it is a filter, a regulator, a predator that shapes what survives to adulthood. To drift in a mangrove channel and spot one, cube bell pulsing faintly, tentacles stretched into nothingness, is to see the sea at its most deceptive. There is no drama, no chase, no roar. Only the illusion of calm, pierced by invisible harpoons moving at impossible speeds. The minefield floats, armed and patient, waiting not with intent but with inevitability. And within its transparency lies a lesson. The most dangerous threats in the ocean are often the ones you never see until it is too late. The reef after dark is another world. The riot of daytime color fades into a subdued palette of muted greens and silvers, moonlight filtering through water in restless beams. Parrotfish wedge themselves into crevices, some even cloaking in mucus cocoons. Crabs scuttle with the confidence that night grants, antennae sweeping for scraps. Tiny plankton drift upward in a slow-motion snowfall. It seems almost peaceful, a lull in the chaos of daylight hunting. But in the narrow fissures of coral heads, the peace is an illusion. Two glassy eyes glow faintly, a set of jaws rhythmically opening and closing. The moray eel waits, and waiting is all it needs to do. The moray is the reef's spectre, half hidden, half seen, a predator that does not chase but lets prey come close enough to regret curiosity. Unlike the sprinting barracuda or the patrolling shark, the moray invests in confinement. Its body is a muscular ribbon, coated in a slick layer of protective mucus that lets it slip like liquid through narrow tunnels. Where most fish rely on scales for defense, the moray abandons them entirely, its mucus skin reducing abrasion against rough coral walls and guarding against infection in a microbe-rich environment. This serpentine form gives the moray freedom to twist, reverse, and coil within coral mazes where other hunters cannot follow. The reef's labyrinth is its kingdom, and every crack is a doorway. But the true terror of the moray lies not in its shape, nor even in its teeth, but in the secret weapon lodged in its throat, pharyngeal jaws. Most fish rely on suction feeding, creating a pressure drop to draw prey into the mouth. Morays, however, evolved long, narrow skulls that made suction inefficient. Evolution's solution was astonishing, a second set of jaws. Hidden deep within the throat, these jaws are hinged, toothed, and mobile. When the moray seizes prey with its outer jaws, the pharyngeal jaws lunge forward like a sprung trap, clamp onto the victim, and haul it back into the esophagus. This is no minor assist, it is a second attack. To the unlucky fish or crustacean, the first bite is only the beginning. Before escape can even be attempted, another set of teeth reaches out from the darkness, dragging it into oblivion. It is no wonder divers compare morays to cinematic aliens. They are, quite literally, jaws within jaws. The skull itself reinforces this dual assault. Morays exhibit extreme cranial kinesis, the ability to move different parts of the skull independently. This flexibility allows them to crush, twist, and drag prey deeper into their labyrinthine layers. They do not shear cleanly like sharks or swallow whole like groupers. They seize, anchor, and then drag, leveraging the full coil of their muscular bodies to wrestle victims against rock. In the tight confines of coral, this method is brutally efficient. There is no room for prey to thrash, no escape path, only the tightening embrace of a body adapted for confined combat. Night is the moray's chosen hour. Crustaceans emerge, small fish sleep or drift less cautiously, and the cover of darkness grants the eel the advantage of stealth. Guided by a keen sense of smell, morays probe crevices with flicking heads and tasting mouths. When prey stumbles too near the den entrance, the strike is instantaneous. The outer jaws clamp shut, the inner jaws surge forward, and in seconds the victim vanishes, swallowed whole. Silence returns just as quickly. The reef does not remember the brief violence, only the moray keeps the tally. What makes morays even more remarkable is their willingness to break the stereotype of solitary predators. In several regions, they engage in cooperative hunts with groupers, a partnership that rewrites the script of reef predation. Groupers, broad-bodied and powerful, excel in open chases, but are thwarted when prey darts into narrow coral hideouts. Morays, in contrast, are built for exactly those tight spaces. A grouper in need of help has been observed performing a distinctive headshake near a moray's lair. If the moray responds, the two set out together. When prey bolts into cracks, the eel slides in and flushes it out. If the prey flees into open water, the grouper surges forward to capture it. Sometimes both predators share in the spoils, dividing a kill that neither could have secured alone. This alliance, communication between entirely different species, shows that intelligence on the reef is not limited to mammals or cephalopods. It proves that survival favors not only strength or stealth, but cooperation, even across evolutionary divides. Not every crevice becomes a hunting ground. Morays show strong sight fidelity, returning to specific holes again and again, turning them into permanent doors of death. These chosen dens offer advantages: multiple escape routes, favorable current flows for carrying chemical cues of prey, or proximity to abundant crustacean populations. Over time, these dens accumulate shell middens and bones, much like an octopus's lair, marking them as feeding stations. To passing fish, the entrance may appear as nothing more than another shadow. To the eel, it is a gate, one through which prey enters alive but seldom exits. This territorial logic stabilizes their role in the reef. By anchoring themselves to certain dens, morays create zones of predation that influence prey distribution. Small fish and crustaceans avoid corridors near occupied holes, altering grazing patterns and algae growth. These ripple effects shape the reef's microecology, reminding us that predators leave footprints not only in kills, but in fear itself. The landscape of fear created by morays ensures no single prey species monopolizes space unchecked. In their role as population regulators, morays act as keystones. By consuming crabs and small fish, they prevent any single group from overexploiting coral resources. Crabs in excess could overgraze algae, smothering corals. Small fish unchecked could shift plankton dynamics. Morays, unseen most of the day, maintain balance by night, trimming populations through relentless localized predation. The reef's health, though rarely credited to them, depends in part on the jaws within jaws, waiting in shadow. Encounters with humans complicate this story. Morays, with their perpetual open-mouthed breathing and sudden lunges, have earned reputations as aggressive. In truth, most bites occur when divers offer food or reach too close to dens. A defensive moray is formidable, but its nature is not reckless hostility. Its mucus coat, fragile skin, and reliance on confined spaces mean it would rather retreat than fight. Its reputation is built on misunderstanding, the eerie gape of its mouth a necessity for respiration, not a threat display. Yet even with these caveats, the moray's image endures as one of menace. Perhaps it is the sheer alienness of its design, the hidden weaponry, the suddenness of its strikes. Perhaps it is the way it waits in silence, transforming ordinary holes into death traps. But beneath that image lies ecological necessity, an animal that regulates prey populations, collaborates with other predators, and embodies the reef's theme of strangeness turned into survival. To watch a moray eel hunt is to see the reef's labyrinth weaponized. A head emerges, jaws gaping. A fish darts too close. The first bite closes, and before the prey can resist, another set of jaws lunges forward from within, dragging it into the dark. Silence returns, broken only by the faint pulse of water over gills. Somewhere else, a grouper waits for its partner, and together they carve the reef into a chessboard of ambushes. The moray eel does not rule through speed, nor by size, but through specialization, through weapons hidden where no prey expects them, through patience sharpened into inevitability. It is the reef's xenomorph, a creature that reaches out again after the first bite, a predator both feared and essential. And though most divers will never see one strike, the reef itself knows their presence. In every crevice avoided by small fish, in every crab population kept in check, in every den that has become a permanent door of death, the moray's influence endures. The reef is balanced not just by the visible hunters of daylight, but by the unseen jaws waiting in the night. The open lagoon is quiet to us, a mirror of sunlight and water broken by the faint splash of a mullet leaping. But beneath the surface, the quiet is an illusion. Here, sound is not background, it is architecture, a dimension that dolphins bend and carve as surely as we shape stone. For dolphins, the sea is not only a place to swim through, but a space to design in. They draw invisible maps with echoes, raise walls of pressure with bubbles, and herd fish into prisons made of water itself. They are architects of sound and bubbles, predators whose tools are not claws or teeth alone, but physics, culture, and communication. Their craft begins with echolocation. From the rounded forehead, known as the melon, bursts a stream of clicks that travel outward in precise beams. Each click is a packet of energy, rebounding off objects and returning with information encoded in time, frequency, and intensity. To us, it might sound like a rapid series of taps. To a dolphin, it is a three-dimensional map painted across space. The returning echoes reveal not only distance but shape, density, even internal structure. A dolphin can tell the difference between a fish and a stone, between a full fish and one with an empty swim bladder. It can track a moving school and identify its shifting geometry in real time. Echolocation is not passive hearing but active vision, a sensory beam as directional as a flashlight, scanning, sweeping, probing. Where our eyes fail in murky water, dolphins see with sound, constructing a reality more vivid than sight. Yet knowing where prey is only half the battle. The real artistry begins when dolphins turn their perception into manipulation. Along sandy shallows, bottlenose dolphins have perfected a strategy called mud ring feeding. Working in small groups, one dolphin circles tightly around a school of fish, beating its tail against the sand to raise a rising wall of sediment. The plume expands upward in a ring, a liquid corral that fish instinctively avoid. But as panic sets in, some leap over the barrier, straight into the mouths of waiting dolphins. In this way, mud is not a hindrance but a tool, converted into a trap by collective design. The behavior is not universal but cultural, passed down in certain pods and refined across generations. In deeper waters, dolphins employ another strategy, bubble net feeding. By releasing jets of air from their blowholes while circling fish schools, they create curtains of rising bubbles. To small fish, the shimmering barrier looks solid, a wall they cannot cross. The school compacts tighter and tighter until dolphins surge through the mass, jaws snapping in a feast choreographed by fluid dynamics. Each bubble is a building block, each pulse of air a stone in an invisible prison. Together, these predators sculpt the sea itself into a weapon. Such engineering is not instinct alone. It is culture, knowledge transmitted across generations, varying by region and pod. In some areas, dolphins use sponges as tools, covering their rostra to protect against sharp rocks while probing for hidden fish.
In others, they perform shelling, driving fish into empty conch shells, then carrying the shells to the surface and shaking them until the prey spills into their mouths. These behaviors are not universal.
They are taught, learned, and preserved like traditions, evidence that dolphin societies carry their own local innovations. Where one pod builds with mud, another engineers with bubbles, and another perfects tool use, each population writes its own chapter in the book of survival. The line between play and practice is thin. Dolphins ride bow waves before ships, surf swells, toss seaweed between each other, and chase bubbles for no apparent gain. Yet within these games lie seeds of learning. Surfing teaches hydrodynamic control. Seaweed games sharpen coordination. Calves watching their mothers sponge or corral learn through imitation, embedding tradition in their own repertoires. What looks to us like play is often preparation, rehearsal for the complexity of hunting strategies. Even their social displays, leaping, spinning, tail slapping, serve as signals, practice, and perhaps even a kind of joy that fuels curiosity. For intelligence, whether in dolphins or humans, thrives where exploration is rewarded. But the sea is not empty water anymore. Into the dolphins' world of sound, humans have poured a tide of noise. Ship engines rumble, sonar pings echo, drilling reverberates through deep channels. To us, these are background sounds. To dolphins, they are distortions in the very architecture of their perception. Noise pollution masks prey echoes, blurs navigation, and disrupts communication between pod members. Imagine trying to hold a conversation in a crowded room where the walls themselves vibrate. It is not merely inconvenient, it is disorienting. Studies show that dolphins must raise their vocalizations in noisy waters, spending more energy to maintain contact. In extreme cases, their hunting efficiency collapses, prey slipping through when echoes are drowned in artificial static. Mitigation efforts are emerging. Quiet ship technology, rerouted traffic lanes, temporal restrictions during breeding seasons, but the problem remains acute. The paradox is stark. We admire dolphins for their intelligence, marvel at their cultural behaviors, yet we saturate their habitat with interference that undermines their survival. To preserve them is not simply to protect individuals, but to safeguard the acoustic space in which they live, the invisible canvas upon which they draw their soundscapes. Ecologically, dolphins are regulators of mid-sized fish populations, keeping prey schools tight and mobile. Their predation maintains the health of fish communities, preventing booms that could destabilize reefs and seagrass meadows. By preying on weak, sick, or unwary individuals, they cull populations in ways that benefit the whole. Their cooperative strategies concentrate energy flow, transforming dispersed prey into dense packets that can be redistributed through the food web. They are not apex predators like sharks or orcas, but they are architects of balance, shaping fish behavior and distribution with both sound and presence. And yet their influence extends beyond biology into the imagination of humans. Few marine animals have inspired as much fascination, from ancient myths to modern films. Perhaps it is their duality, familiar in their intelligence yet alien in their sensory world, that captivates us. Dolphins live in societies, learn from elders and pass on culture. But they also sculpt sound into architecture, manipulate mud into prisons, and wield bubbles as walls. They are both kin and enigma, reminders that intelligence evolves not in one direction but many, each shaped by the demands of environment. To float alongside a pod as they hunt is to glimpse the sea transformed. Clicks ripple outward, bubbles rise in ordered rings, fish panic and consolidate. Then the dolphins surge, synchronized as though choreographed, mouths snapping, tails flashing silver. A school that moments before seemed free now collapses under invisible walls. The prison dissolves as quickly as it formed, bubbles dispersing into nothing, echoes fading into silence. But the memory lingers, predators that build with sound, that shape with bubbles, that turn water itself into a tool. The dolphin's world is not ours. It is deeper, layered with echoes we cannot hear, designs we cannot see, traditions we cannot trace. Yet through observation, we glimpse fragments, the invisible prisons drawn in mud, the shimmering walls raised with bubbles, the tools passed from mother to calf, the games that prepare young for life. They are architects of sound and bubbles, predators whose genius lies not in brute force, but in their ability to bend physics into strategy, culture into survival.